You know what? Just start the episode. There's way too much to talk about. The episode starts and we are back in TV land with Wanda and the Vision as we are now in this 1980s sitcom setting. We see Wanda and Vision taking care of the twins, Tommy and Billy. And a few interesting things happen here. We see that the twins are unaffected by Wanda's magic as she tries to get them to stop crying with it. Also, we get the first of many weird moments with Agnes this episode, as she arrives right as Wanda needs help. When Vision tells her not to handle the babies, the scene gets quiet and she asks Wanda if she wants her to take it again, like they're redoing a scene. And uncomfortable laughter fills the air. Very weird. The babies then age up to about 5 years old, and Agnes makes a very interesting remark. Kids can't control them if you try. And we're actually going to touch on that a little later. Then we are treated to a Family Ties inspired opening with hilarious pictures of baby Vision and baby Wanda. We see things like Vision dressed as the Easter Bunny and as Santa Claus, and is quite possibly my favorite opening so far. This episode also has a lot more weaving between the real world and Wanda's world. We are reintroduced to Monica Rambeau, who's getting an X-ray, which comes out distorted. Now, in the comics, Monica has the ability to control different forms of energy, so is this our first sign that she did in fact gain powers from Wanda, and that she distorted the X-rays using her abilities? Now, we also focus in on Director Hayward a lot this episode, and he's very quick to emphasize Wanda as a major threat, citing her past as a villain, and he puts this weird focus on the fact that she has no code name up until that point, or weird nickname, as he puts it. Could this mean that we're going to see her get the codename Scarlet Witch by the end of the series? Most likely. The fact that they emphasize this point here means that we're most likely going to see her get that name at some point. We also, in this same scene, learn that her parents' names are Irina and Oleg Maximoff, and this is something that we've never heard before, I believe. We also get stock footage from Age of Ultron of Wanda that has Quicksilver edited out, and I found that very weird while I was watching the episode, but this clearly was purposely done for something that we see later on in the episode. In this scene, Monica also suggests Wanda put up her own quarantine, and she's actually trying to subconsciously help people, which is an interesting divergence from the way that Hayward is definitely looking at this situation. The director then shows a video of Wanda breaking into a secure sword location and stealing Vision's body. Now, this was a scene that Paul Bettany talked about weeks ago in an interview that was supposed to be in Avengers Endgame, and I now see why they wanted to save that and use it here. He says this went against Vision's will because he did not want anyone to use him as a weapon, and Wanda stole him with that intention. But at the same time, in the video, we see that scientists have his body dismantled and appear to be studying it, which is pretty sketchy. So did Wanda really steal Vision's corpse, or was she actually rescuing it? And we're just seeing it from a skewed perspective. As we re-enter TV land, we see Thomas and Billy have found a dog that just seemed to have appeared in front of their house with no collar. Agnes just happens to walk in with a doghouse just as all of this is going on, which makes Vision even more suspicious of her. And Wanda even starts to do magic right in front of her, which makes Vision even more uncomfortable, because Agnes doesn't react at all to this. They decide to name the dog Sparky, and this is a nod to the synthezoid dog of the same name from the Vision comic book series. To keep the dog, Vision and Wanda say the boys must be at least 10 years old, and with a knowing look, they seem to age themselves up and go from 5 to 10 in an instant, which is pretty weird. No time to rest because we are back to the real world. Wu, Darcy, and Monica are discussing what they need to re-enter the Hex, as Darcy starts calling it. Monica says she knows an aerospace engineer who may be up to the challenge, and this is actually a really huge, subtle statement, because this seems to be teasing a character that will show up in a future episode. Any fan of Marvel Comics will know that the most skilled aerospace engineer in Marvel Comics lore is in fact Reed Richards. Yes, Mr. Fantastic himself. With all the teases that we were given last week, is it possible that Marvel is looking to introduce the new Reed Richards in this series? Could be. But another interesting thing is that there is a few other characters who are aerospace engineers in the comic book world, one of them also being Dr. Hank McCoy, better known as Beast from the X-Men, which, with what we see later, could also be possible. It is actually in this meeting that we learn from Monica that everything Wanda creates in the Hex is real, and that the kids are in fact Wanda's kids. Wanda is rearranging and creating matter, which makes her far more powerful than anyone at S.W.O.R.D. believed her to be. Jimmy Woo even mentions Captain Marvel as potentially being almost as powerful, and Monica gives this look, and it shows that she has had a change of feelings towards her former friend ever since they last met. Back to the TV world, where Vision is now at work, and he intercepts a S.W.O.R.D. email with Norm. It is here that his sketch meter is at an all-time high, and with a touch he's able to snap Norm out of his trance state long enough for Norm to give Vision a warning. He tells Vision that he's suffering and to please stop her. All of us are of course assuming that this means Wanda, but the way he says her instead of Wanda or your wife opens the door to the fact that he may be talking about someone else. Like Agnes perhaps? Or maybe someone that we've yet to be introduced to. We then get a tender moment with the twins where they ask Wanda about her brother, and strangely Wanda refers to him in the present tense, like he's actually still alive, but far away. Is this her subconsciously believing this, or is this an idea being put in her head? It's in this moment that Sparky is scared by something, and Wanda hears the 80s era drone that Monica sent into the Hex appear. Monica tries to reason with Wanda using the drone, but Hayward opens fire immediately without hesitation. It's then where all hell breaks loose, as we hear a unique alarm in the real world, signaling the Hex has been breached, as we see Wanda in full costume emerge and toss the drone at Hayward and the S.W.O.R.D. agents. Her accent has returned, as this is the return to her more damaged, villainous past. As she tells S.W.O.R.D. to leave her alone, she will leave them alone, controlling all the S.W.O.R.D's agents to aim their guns at Hayward as she walks back into the Hex. I like how the show continues to imply that her loss of accent was a character choice, not so much of a choice by the actress because the accent wasn't working. I think Elizabeth Olsen is showing a huge improvement in her ability to weave in and out of this accent, and I think that it adds a lot to her character when you look at it from this perspective. We also get Monica continuing to reason with Wanda, and she actually suggests that the reason why Wanda let her into the Hex was because she subconsciously knew, being a telepath, that she was a S.W.O.R.D. agent, and that she may have been reaching out for help without even realizing it. Our commercial for the episode is a commercial for Lagos paper towel, which of course is a reference to the Lagos incident from Captain America Civil War. The incident with Crossbones, which Wanda inadvertently causes. The tagline for the paper towels is even, "For when you make a mess, you didn't mean to." As we continue to have these commercials that are playing the greatest hits of Wanda's life. You know, everything from Hydra, Strucker, Stark, the Lagos paper towel, all of these things have some sort of significance to all of the trauma that has happened to her in the past. And they're even happening in chronological order. Really quickly, I just have to add that Dennis the Mailman is super sus. I can't help but feel he may be involved in some way, shape, or form. He shows up, and they always linger on him for each appearance, and he's also always close by to Agnes when he does show up. This time, assuring the twins that they will find Sparky because your mom won't let him get that far. Wanda and the twins find Agnes, and she has Sparky dead, wrapped in a blanket. She tells them that he had ate too many azalea leaves, and she found him when it was too late to save him. I mean, azalea leaves are in fact toxic to dogs, but dogs very rarely eat enough of them to seriously get sick or die from them. It's not a plant they normally go for. Is it possible Agnes used the dog to set up a wedge between the kids and Wanda? Possibly even Wanda and Vision? Maybe. I have to mention the fact that there is a plant in Marvel Comics called the Wundagore Everbloom, which is a plant that Agatha Harkness used in the comics to see the future, which involved the sacrifice of her cat. Not saying that is what happened here, but I wanted to bring it up. I definitely do think that this dog was used, if not by Agnes, by some other force or being that's controlling the scenario to kind of set up a wedge between either Wanda and the kids or Wanda and Vision, orchestrate some sort of conflict. Vision comes back just in time to help console the boys as they head home. Vision comes inside from burying the body of the dog, and he immediately confronts Wanda about the Maximoff anomaly. He implies that Wanda may have woke up in this reality with no memory of how it started, and that she's actually just going along with it now, and that she really wasn't the one to kickstart this, but she's so comfortable having everything that she wants that she's refusing to do anything about it, which is definitely interesting to think about. He tells Wanda that she can't control him like the others, and she makes the credits appear on screen to try and force the episode to end. But the episode doesn't end, and the fight continues into the next room, as it's a jarring transition from what we're used to seeing when we think of end credits. Things calm down, and Vision questions why there are no other kids in Westview. And I have to wonder, is this all part of the plan? Did they pick people specifically with no kids to populate this town because kids can't be controlled, like Agnes said in the beginning of the episode? Is it possible that they did this because having kids here would jeopardize the hex because kids can't be controlled as fully as adults can? The doorbell rings as Vision voices his new distrust of Wanda, and Wanda goes to answer the door and is completely shocked to find her brother Pietro is alive and at the door. Except this is Evan Peters playing Pietro, the same actor that played Quicksilver in the Fox X-Men movies. Darcy notes that she recast Pietro as we hear the breach siren going off in the background. The episode then ends. Now, Evan Peters' appearance here is huge. It forces us to ask so many questions. Why is he here? Is he the same character from the X-Men films? Did he enter the breach now and that is what set the alarm off? Is this someone in Westview that wanted to cast to play Pietro? Or is this Mephisto coming to keep Wanda in check as everything begins to unravel? The only thing we do know is that this is not the same character recast with a different actor. Darcy's line tells us this much. This is a different version of Pietro than the one we saw on Age of Ultron. And it's quite possible this may be the beginning of the MCU multiverse expansion. All I know is things are starting to intensify in Westview, and we have to tune in next week to get more answers, or possibly more questions. Until next time, guys, catch you later.